Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming in here with another podcast. We certainly, of course, appreciate our audience for always tuning in. Hey, guess what? You can catch us on Spotify now. Weren't even aware with it. They must have approved us for the last month or two, but we are on Spotify with the podcast as well as iTunes, Google Play, youtube.com/Chris Voss. Be sure to tell and refer your friends, neighbors, dogs, cats. Get everybody in on the action. Listen to the podcast. We certainly, guys, appreciate you guys referring it to your friends. And wow, now you can listen to it in Spotify. I mean, you either have Metallica or the Chris Voss Show. You can choose between those. And God knows, hopefully you aren't listening to the Lawrence Welk Show. But if you are, we're not going to judge you. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We certainly appreciate it. We, of course, have the most wonderful guests in the world, if I can copy the hyperbole of what seems to be in politics these days. The best guests. We have today Jeff Tippett. Jeff is known to many as Mr. Persuasion. He is a subject matter expert in persuasive communications. Speaking to international audiences through keynotes and seminars, Jeff helps attendees increase their effectiveness and gives them powerful tools to help reach their goals and empowers attendees to positively impact their organizations or businesses. Welcome to the show, Jeff. How are you today?
Hey, Chris, thanks for the opportunity to be part of your group here. I'm excited to talk.
Sounds great, man. Now you're involved in persuasion. Is this going to help in my dating life?
You know, here's my big, bold statement, Chris. And yes, the quick answer is yes. But here's the big statement. My statement is that we all live or die based upon our ability to persuade. So that means if you're the CEO of an existing company, moving your company to a new place, if you're in sales, a sales manager, if you're in middle management, or what about this? What if you don't want to live alone for the rest of your life? We all live or die based upon our ability to persuade.
You know, and I've talked about this in some of my prior podcasts, in fact, one or two recently, where, you know, people sometimes they see sales or persuasion as kind of a dark art and kind of suspicious and integrity lacking. But we all sell. We all sell. I mean, from when you're a kid, you sell your mom on why she should buy popsicles at the store. You know, why she should give you treats. We're always selling. We sell in our interactions with other human beings. So persuasion is a huge factor in how we interact with our world and how we get what we want, and et cetera, et cetera. So tell us more about yourself. Give us your plugs too on your website, things of that nature.
Absolutely. So my speaking website is jefftippett.com, JEFFTIPPETT.com. And if you get anywhere close, I've got Google ads on all the misspellings of my name. So just get close and I'm sure you'll find me.
That's, you know what I do so that people can find me on the web is I just have Google ads of all the 4 little expletives and then then they find me. It's
that works too.
Screw this guy on Google. I come up. I'm just right there.
There you are.
That's him. That's the guy. F you. That's him.
I love it.
So there you go. So tell us more about, I mean, I think you've written a book already and you've got another one coming out. Tell us where that's going there.
Yeah, absolutely. So my first book is out. It's called Pixels Are the New Ink. It's been a great tool, great help to people. I'm extremely excited about this next book. We're still slated for January 1, 2019 release. I have finished up all my writing. I got a few little edits to do, but it's all in the hands of my publisher and my editor at this point. But the book is called Unleashing Your Superpower: Why Persuasive Communications is the Only Force That You'll Ever Need. And in this book, I talk through the story of my international adoption, bringing a baby from the country of Haiti to the United States. I talk about the ups and downs, what I learned about myself, the internal struggles, the changes that happen. I talk a little bit about what you were just talking about, the dark side. I talk about manipulation versus persuasion, because oftentimes people don't understand. And when you have a clear understanding, it changes everything for you. And then I walk through the steps of persuasion. I talk about messaging, how you craft messaging, how you work with others, helping them find their win, how you connect with others, how you position your message, how you make your call to action. I talk a little bit about becoming an industry influencer. I also talk about one of the biggest factors, which is trust.
Mm-hmm. Trust is a huge factor, especially when it comes to persuasion, because unless you lay those foundational building blocks, you can't build on anything else.
It is. It's the most important. It's probably the most important chapter. And this came to me through my editor. I implied trust throughout the entire book. And my editor came back and said, I see it throughout all of your book, but trust is like the cornerstone. Like this is like the most important aspect of everything around persuasion. So let's take a little bit of time and let's talk about trust, and let's build out and help people understand trust, what trust means and how people can gain the trust of others.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge factor. So in your first book, it was called Pixels.
Pixels Are the New Ink. And the goal of that book was to help thought leaders get the information out of their head, help them make money by putting it online, building their influence online.
Awesome sauce. So you taught them how to do it online.
That was a big part of the first book, was helping people. A lot of people, especially a lot of entrepreneurs, they have all these ideas in their head, and we just got to find a way to get these things out there, find your audience, build your brand, make the money.
Make the money as it goes. So many people are trying to figure out how to build their brands online, what to do, how to do it, all that sort of good stuff. And they're searching for all sorts of different ways. And you've spoken internationally, traveling around the world, getting to know people, getting to know what they do, and counseling them on how to do it.
Interacting with people, especially after I speak, is one of the best parts of being out there. I love being on stage. I love lighting people up, seeing the light bulbs go off, seeing them get excited, but talking with them afterward. For example, I recently spoke for a nurses association, and we were talking about persuasion as it relates to bedside manner and how they relate to patients and people that they're working with. And afterward, I was waiting for the valet to bring me my car, and a nurse that leads a division of a very prominent hospital here in the U.S. came to me. She said, Jeff, I was listening to you through both ears. And I'm like, well, I kind of laughed and chuckled, like, well, of course you were. She said, like, here's what I mean, Jeff. I was listening to you with my professional ear as a nurse and helping nurses that I work with understand how to persuade to impact our bedside manner. But with the other ear, I was listening to you as a musician. I'm about to release my first CD, first downloads, and you help me understand how to message myself, how to get it out there, how to present, how to get persuade people to buy the CD. I'm a single mom with a daughter, and this is going to impact my life. And that motivates me. That gets me excited to see people take this and change their lives.
It definitely makes a huge difference. I mean, in what people do, whether they can sell or persuade. So what are some persuasion techniques or advice you give to people that can help them in their average everyday life?
Well, first of all, is to really understand what persuasion is and what manipulation is. Oftentimes, what we think is persuasion is manipulation. And manipulation is defined this way. It means to control or to influence a person or situation, but to do it cleverly, to do it unfairly. So what happens in manipulation is, yes, we're moving people. Yes, we're trying to get them to go where we want them to go, but we're doing it solely out of our best interest and things that we want. That's what you referred to earlier as the dark side, right? When we're out there making them do things because we want them to do it and it's only for our good, versus the other side of this, which is persuasion. And persuasion is to cause someone to do something through reasoning or argument. And the word here, argument, isn't like what we do at Thanksgiving when we talk about religion and politics at the table, right? And we fight. It's really listening. And both sides saying, hey, this is what I need. These are the gaps. Here's where I need help. And bringing a solution to the table. And then over time, through sustained effort, both sides come to the same place. And I look for two magical words at the end of conversations with clients as I'm getting things signed or negotiations or business dealings. I look for two magical words. And when I hear these words, I know that I persuaded and I didn't manipulate. And those two words are, that's right. So when they look at me and say, hey, Jeff, that's right. We really do need to do this. Hey, Jeff, that is a great plan. Jeff, let's work on this. Jeff, let's make this happen. That's right. And I see that they're buying in for their own self-interest and how it's going to impact them. At that point, I know that I persuaded and I didn't manipulate. So to me, this all begins by understanding the difference between manipulation and persuasion.
And I noticed on your website, I remember seeing it, your I guess this is for the launch of your future book, on what is your superpower, where you're jumping onto a chair on stage, you're pulling your shirt open, and you've got a Superman shirt underneath.
Yeah, absolutely. As a kid, I love superheroes, and I tried to like pick my one. Like who's the one I would be. The problem was, I would find one superhero, and then someone else I'd see a different power, or then I'd see Wonder Twins, and I'd see like two people having superpowers. Could never really settle on that superpower until I went through this whole process of this international adoption. But I talk a lot about Superman, and yeah, oftentimes I'll jump up on a table, I'll jump up on a chair, and reveal the Superman shirt, and people love it. They laugh, they clap, they whistle. Great times.
So give us a story about your Haiti experience in adopting your child.
I really never wanted to adopt a kid. I had two biological kids. The thought of adoption and bringing a child from another country here or from another family, it never crossed my mind. And my father ended up going to Haiti to do some humanitarian relief. And his translator was a ninth grader who was in an English-speaking American school, Christian school, and she happened to get pregnant. And the school gave her two choices. They said, give up your baby or drop out of school. And Chris, I don't know about you, but I don't think I could even face that type of decision. Like, how do you decide when you're in this third world country, one of the poorest countries on the globe, and you realize that education is one of the only ways out, your only way forward in life, but you have this baby that you love as well. And Chris, she was given a choice: get rid of it or drop out of school.
Wow, that's horrific.
So my father told me the story. I don't know what it was, Chris, but I looked at the picture of her. He handed me hard copy photos, and I looked at this picture of her, looked into her eyes, couple months old, and something just clicked for me. Something clicked inside, and I knew that my next step in life was to adopt this baby. I knew nothing about adoption. I had a brand new baby at home already. I didn't have contacts in Haiti. I didn't know anything about Haiti. Nothing whatsoever. But I walked away from that dinner with my dad with this understanding that I've got to do this. This is my next step in life.
That's pretty ballsy. I mean, it's so you went there and I imagine you had to circumvent all sorts of red tape and negotiations and stuff. And I know Haiti probably isn't the most ethical place, so you may have had to use your persuasion techniques, I guess.
Yeah, there were so many ups and downs. It was the hardest 6.5 months in my life. Now, granted, I'll admit, completing an international adoption in 6.5 months with a country that's fallen apart during this time, President Aristide's government was collapsing. There was civil unrest. Chris, for the first time in my life, I had guns held at my head. I had machetes held at my neck. Jesus. I had to flee the city in there just for my own safety. As college students started all the rioting, and like everyone could be part of the violence at that point. I had never had experience like that in my entire life. But for the first time, I faced things like this happening to me, my own safety in jeopardy, and had to make decisions. Do I continue or do I end and do I walk away?
Wow, man, that's crazy. So what ended up happening? I mean, how did you use your persuasion techniques? How did you get through the whole experience of finally adopting the baby?
So we had this one particular phase of the adoption when my attorney in Haiti emailed me and said, Jeff, the office that we need to sign this next document has closed down because of all the civil unrest. We don't even know if this office is going to open again. And he said, Jeff, at best, consider your adoption on hold. But at worst, you might need to consider it's over and you're not going to be able to complete this adoption. Well, that was really hard, Chris, for me to take, because at that point, I'd already flown to Haiti. I had taken her food. I had taken her clothing. I had taken her medicine. I had given her family money. I had met her. I had held her in my arms. I had kissed this little girl. So what do you do when they tell you, hey, there's nothing we can do at this point. This could be over. So I flew over to Haiti, and my goal was this. My plan was this. I stayed with my attorney, and every single day with my translator, I would walk to this office hoping someone would show up that would sign the paper for me, only to leave at the end of the day and walk back disappointed. And this happened day after day after day for about 2 weeks until finally someone showed up. And this was the big change that happened in me. you can imagine like all this pent up and frustration that was in me and anxiety and emotions, all this stuff is like running all through me. And finally, I have an audience, right? Finally, someone shows up that I can talk to. So through my translator, I start talking to this government official that I needed his signature. And I go through everything, like, and it's all words like I, me, and my. I'm saying things like, I'm trying to adopt this baby. I need you to sign this document. I got to get this done. I've got to get this baby back to the US. And I'm carrying on all these conversations about me and my. And he glassed over, Chris, and he was like unwilling to sign the document. So I was facing with the decision at that point. What am I going to do? Because at this point, I can't let this thing fall apart.
Wow.
So I drew back on my limited knowledge of what I had learned about Haitians in my short time there, my short encounters. And I knew that Haitians love their children. They love their babies. They're like jewels in the family. Haitians love their kids. So I turned the conversation around and I talked to him, and I made an assumption here, a calculated assumption that he, like other Haitians, really did love the children of Haiti. And I turned the story around and I started talking about this Haitian girl here who did not have a home, who was sick, who didn't have a promise of education or financial security or love, or didn't have promise of anything in life, and how I was willing to be that and help her if he would sign this document and help me get to the next place. Within 10 minutes, the document was signed, I was out the door, and my adoption was back on track.
Wow, that's pretty darn awesome. So, I mean, persuasion was a technique that really helped you in being able to get that done, get him sold, and get the baby. And so you brought the baby home from Haiti, and I guess, and she's doing well?
Brought her back. She is now 15. She has her learner's permit. She is in a sophomore. She's got a summer job, and now she's looking at coding. She wants to be a black girl that codes is her heart right now. And so she's taking all the steps necessary to head in that direction.
That's awesome. I mean, we change the world in so many ways, and sometimes it's just one person at a time. And it's great that, I mean, I'm sure that her fortunes are far different than what she would have found growing up in Haiti.
You know, I've learned a lot myself. I mean, through this experience, at times like in this government office, like I was talking about earlier, you know, I began to understand that I could get a lot of things done in the past, but oftentimes I was that one that was manipulating. I was twisting arms. I didn't care about relationships. I didn't care what I damaged. I cared about getting done what had to be done. But Haiti and the experience there, the cultural difference and the language difference, Haiti taught me that those things are not the best way to move forward. So how do you find this common place where you are persuading and not manipulating? And, you know, even bigger than all that, Chris, when it finally was all over, we got her here to the US. I'm standing in the Miami airport. I'm holding her. She's whimpering at that stage. She has screamed the whole flight back. She had double ear infections, we found out.
Oh, no.
It's pain, right? Finally get her back. I'm holding her. And yeah, I'll admit for a few minutes, Chris, I was excited. You know, I felt accomplished. You know, I like pat myself on the back. Hey, Jeff, you got this thing done. But that kind of went out the window pretty quickly there. Chris, I started looking at her and I started wondering, like, what is she going to be in life? Is she going to be a doctor and heal people? Will she become a school teacher and impact hundreds of students that could impact thousands of lives? Would she become a humanitarian and relieve suffering? Would she become a nurse? Would she go back to Haiti? And Chris, while I couldn't answer any of those questions, what I did understand at that moment was this adoption, the work that I did in the adoption wasn't over. This wasn't the finale. This is kind of like, you know, we've probably all been, it is like, we've probably all been to a lake or a pond and tossed that rock in, that stone in, and you've got that first thump, right? Thump when it goes in. That's the adoption. But from that, was all the ripples that continue to go. And the understanding that came to me at that point was, look, this is so much bigger than me. The good that happened here is going to live well beyond me. She's going to impact lives that I will never even know. She's going to help people that I will never see, never, ever meet. And it's a great encouragement to us as we go through life to, you know, lift our head up past the emails or the phone calls or the meetings and the lunches that we have to do, closing deals, making this happen, making that happen, and realize if we're heading in the right direction in life, our actions can impact people for the good well beyond us and our time here on the earth.
what most people need to keep in mind as they go through their lives and move through their lives is how much impact we have. I mean, when we pass away, we can't take any of this with us, and the only thing we have are, if you believe in whatever we're going to believe, maybe we have some memories that experience beyond this. But for the most part, it's how we've changed the world and impacted the world or made the world a better place. And hopefully, when we're gone, people will remember that, and people's lives will be changed, impacted, and yeah, I mean, you're right. What they go on to do and stuff is exponential to our own lives, and that's the great beauty, I think, of what we have to contribute as a whole.
Exactly. And none of this for me would ever happen without an understanding of what persuasive communication is all about and how I move people, how I make things happen, and how I make sure I don't manipulate. But it does all, from my mind at least, lead us to the greater good. And when I'm on stage, I encourage people to think of the greater good. Like, what's going to happen? How are your actions today going to impact lives for the positive? What are we doing that's good to help people around us and ultimately help people that we'll never see or ever meet?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes just, I think there's been videos or different things people have made where people are like, they show the impact of smiling at someone or thanking someone, and then, how that gets passed down. And then, of course, sometimes being ugly to people gets passed around, and, one person's bad day and they yell at another person and, blah, blah, blah. It ends up being a huge thing that goes on and on and on with, passing the buck or 6 degrees of whatever, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, making a difference in the world and how we approach it and how we interact with each other is super, super important.
Absolutely. And, I think of things like, especially being an entrepreneur, I think of things of like business owners. Like, as we grow our companies, as we grow our businesses, we're providing jobs for people. And with these jobs, that means people can put food on the table. It means that they can put money into a college fund. It means that the kids can go to dance lessons or they can get tutoring. It's so much bigger than what we ever really think. And we can impact the lives in such a way that it's more than just checks. It's just more than just money. There's big benefits that can happen when we understand our role here in society.
Oh yeah, totally. So your next book is going to come out. You're going to be talking about how to find your superpower. You mentioned, how sometimes you would hop around to different superpowers based upon what you liked of one and the other. Is there? Do you address that in the book of being, not just identifying maybe with Superman, but maybe identifying with multiple superpowers or multiple super identities?
Absolutely. I talk about that in it. I remind people that as a kid, I could never settle. I couldn't come down to the one because it seemed like something was always better. And I went this past weekend, I took my kids, we went to see Venom. And I look at that and I think, oh, that's amazing too. But at the end of the day, I have to hold true to my big, bold statement that it's persuasive communication. That's how we live or die.
So finding your superpower, I mean, certainly I would like to see through walls. That would be good. I'd like to have the Superman power to turn time back. That would also be good. And anytime I say something stupid, I like to use that superpower. That would definitely be good. That, or I could go back and kill Hitler or something. I don't know, take the thing back. Why didn't Superman ever go back in time and kill Hitler? He had that possibility to do that. What the hell? I'm going to look at Superman in a whole different light. What do you have against Jews? Your Superman loved Jews. Anyway.
Well, for me, like looking back, like not the big stuff like that, but just like the small things in life. When I'm on stage, people like to hear about the ways that I've just screwed up, the ways that I've messed up, the horrible things that I've done, the big mistakes that I make. And I've grown extremely comfortable, like just talking about it, just putting some of that stuff out there. And I've got some examples in the book of this like stuff that I've done that, yeah, you kind of regret it, but at the same time, take a look at this and don't do what I did.
It's interesting how our experience of life is so much the same. I've shared my challenges and quandaries and things that I've had to deal with in life online. And I just kind of sometimes was sharing or venting sometimes. And it was interesting to me how many times it resonated with people and their experience in their lives and what they were going through. A good example is I was going through a crisis with my dog, and my dog had cancer, and I was suffering through the decisions that needed to be made in a cancer situation. And come to find out, people were struggling sometimes with the same thing or had struggled. And I found that my world wasn't so alone. And there were other people in it that were having the same sort of issues. When I went through the experience of my dogs passing away or deaths in my family, talking about those things online, it was amazing that I found other people who went through the same thing or were going through the same thing. There were even people that told me that they had the same sort of issues with their catharsis, where they had realized they hadn't gotten closure for maybe deaths in their family or their pets. And so there's a lot of different issues there. And so it was interesting to me to see people going through that and the issues they had. So sharing a lot online just is very interesting that way.
Yeah, I believe it. I agree. In fact, I've got a chapter in the book that's called "Make a Connection," and in this chapter of the book, what I talk through is ways to make connections with your audience, and of course, like understanding, like having things like compassion is extremely important. Like understanding what another person is going through is one of the things I discuss. I also discuss empathy as well, not only understanding what they're going through, but really feeling the pain that they're going through. I talked some about transparency and just like what you've described with your online experience of getting those stories out there. And what it does is it connects you to your audience. And especially when you're in this mode of persuasion, like having this type of emotional connection, this emotional bond is one of the best tools that you have to help persuade people when you have that type of connection with the other person. And again, what you're looking for isn't about I'm going to make this connection with you so I can manipulate you. No, you're making this connection so that you understand your audience. And especially in business, we have to understand where the gaps are, what the needs are, the things that we can fix for other people. And when we have those types of connections, it creates a place where people are more safe to share those things and talk through things that are close and dear to them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it makes a huge difference. So what's the best way people can research you online, find out more about you, and check out some of your books and things?
My website, jefftippett.com. Great way. Another way is by texting the word persuade to 66866. Persuade to 66866. And what will happen, they'll instantly get a free chapter from my upcoming book. This chapter is on crafting a simple message, and it helps people understand like how you get all these ping pong balls of ideas that bounce around in our head, how we get all that out, and we develop a very concise message that's the foundation for persuading other people.
Sounds good. Awesome. Well, everyone go check it out. Check out Jeff on his online websites. Order his book from, I believe, amzn.to. They can probably get your books.
Yep, absolutely.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And I certainly appreciate our audience tuning in today. Be sure to check us out. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss, hit that bell notification button. Also go to Spotify. Of course, you can do now to subscribe to the show. You can also go to Google Play and iTunes. Be sure to tell your friends, neighbors, relatives, get them to sign up for the show. We certainly appreciate you guys referring them. Thanks, everyone, for showing up today, and we'll see you next time.